Hello everyone, my name is Oluwashina Adeboboye. I am the managing partner of Ingenium Legal Practice. I'm also the co-founder of Lantern Innovating Limited. We are the owners of the trademark Lawrathon.com, where we provide easy and swift solutions, legal solutions, and business advisory to businesses and startups. We totally erase the bureaucracies and delays of the traditional law firms, and we provide hands-on solutions as you go, as you need them. Well, in this video, I'll be discussing about corporate governance and its importance to a business, an entity. So let's dive in. Corporate governance is the way in which companies are governed and to what purpose. It identifies who has the power and accountability, who makes decisions. In essence, it is a toolkit that enables management and the board to deal more effectively with the running of a company. It includes the directors, shareholders, management, company secretarial, compliance. I mean, all of this is what comes together to form what you have, what's called corporate governance. Corporate governance ensures that the businesses have appropriate decision-making processes and controls in place to so that the interest of all stakeholders, shareholders, employees, suppliers, customers, and the community that forms that business or surrounds that entity are balanced. Simply put, it is a system by which organizations are directed and managed. It is the foundation, it is the bedrock, and the major pillar of any successful business. It also has its own forms of checks and balances. Just as the name suggests, corporate governance is also a form of government. So just as you have the judiciary, the legislature, and the executive in governance, like in a proper democracy, it also has its own forms of checks and balances, and the different divisions are different. The roles they play are different, but they are all germane, in the sustainability of the business. So basically, that is the simple definition of what corporate governance is. It is how the company is run. It is to ensure its smooth operations and to ensure its sustainability. The first thing that has to be in play is, and this is very important because many businesses do not adhere to this, is the fact that we have to have qualified board of directors and evaluate performance. The board of directors should be comprised of those who are knowledgeable and have expertise relevant to the business, those who are skilled, who are experienced, especially in the industry. Um, the more experience they have, the better it is for their role as directors. Competent and have strong ethics and integrity, diverse backgrounds and skill set, and they must also have sufficient time, to perform their duties for the business. Furthermore, the majority of directors should be independent, not a member of management, not directly under the supervision of the CEO. They should be independent directors because that way they can make decisions that would that would be to the benefit of the company and not to satisfy the interest of maybe the CEO or the management, without any direct or indirect material relationship that could interfere with their judgment. So sometimes, in as much as it is okay for shareholders to be directors of a company, it is always advisable to have independent directors who are not shareholders, while you also want to have shareholders as directors who have a stake in the company and want to see the company succeed. It is also good to have independent directors who are basically not shareholders of the company and who are going to, direct and steer the affairs of the company to the best interest of the company. So we don't want anything that will interfere with their judgment. We should Another thing we have to take into consideration is regular review board mandates to assess whether directors are fulfilling their duties and undertake meaningful evaluations of their performance. So you also have to, from time to time, maybe periodically, quarterly, half yearly, yearly, you have to also do an evaluation of the directors you have on the board. What benefit, what value are they giving to the company? If they are not doing anything for the company, then there is no sense for them being there. The next thing is for you have to have defined roles and responsibilities, establish clear lines of accountability among the board members. The chairman of the board is a very, very powerful and instrumental member of a company, the chief executive officer also plays a very important role, because the chief executive officer is in charge of the day-to-day affairs of the running of the company, and the management. There has to be a clear-cut um, distinction, between the roles of these individuals. This can be done by creating written mandates for the board, and each committee setting out their duties and accountabilities. You also have to emphasize integrity and ethical dealing. When the company is operating, the directors have what we refer to in law as a fiduciary duty to the company. It is very important that you have people who have integrity as your directors, people who don't have a bad image. So the reputational risk is also very important when you're choosing your director. You don't want to have a director where once you mention his name, people are already thinking that there is something wrong with your company, or your company is shady. So you want to have a company that has you want to emphasize that integrity when you're choosing your directors. Not only must directors also declare conflict of interest, it is very possible and it is allowed under the law for individuals to be directors of more than one company, but it is also very important for a director to declare where he feels that there's going to be a conflict of interest with maybe an existing duty or an existing role that they are holding, and refrain from voting, even where there is no conflicting interest with another party or with another entity when it comes to decisions that affect the company. Say, for example, where the company is about to vote on on a matter that involves a director directly, or maybe where a director is going to benefit. Such a director has the ethical duty to refrain from, participating in such vote, because it is going to affect him in one way or the other. So a general culture of integrity in business dealing and respect and compliance with laws. Compliance is also very important. You don't want to be found guilty, or you don't want to be in a situation where you are always at default with regulatory authorities and agencies. You don't want to be found to always be paying fines. So it is important for you to also have a strong compliance department. It also forms part of corporate governance. A strong compliance department ensures that you do everything according to the books, and make sure that you file every document that needs to be filed on time. So compliance with laws and policies or without fear is critical. So another thing we have to also consider is engaging in effective risk management. Companies should regularly identify and assess the risks that they face, and this is another reason why you need a strong compliance department, including financial, operational, reputational, environmental, industry-related, and legal risk. The board is responsible for strategic leadership in establishing the company's risk tolerance and developing a framework and clear accountabilities for managing risk. It should regularly review the adequacy of systems and controls management put in place to identify, assess, mitigate, and monitor risk and the sufficiency of its reporting. So if you have all of this, that is properly taken care of. Now, like I said at the beginning, corporate governance is the bedrock and is the pillar of a company. So companies that follow corporate governance practices benefit through better access to capital and a steady increment of investment by ensuring necessary sustainability in their operations. What this basically means is that when you have a proper corporate governance, and let's say you now have investors looking to invest in your business. Once you have a proper corporate governance structure, your company secretarial is in place, your compliance department is in place, your accounting department is in place, your books are properly kept and properly recorded. It gives investors, you know um, it boosts the confidence of the investors, and it makes them feel that, look, you know what you are doing, as opposed to where the investors are showing interest and they ask you, and in the process of doing their due diligence, they ask you, oh, for this, and you don't have it. They ask you for that, you don't have it. In that way, they begin to deem you as unserious. So my answer to this is, you reduce the exclusive focus on the executive level. Given the time and resources required for effective succession planning, many organizations tend to focus their efforts solely on executive level positions. They just focus on who is going to be our CEO, who is going to be our COO, who is going to occupy the the C-suite. But this can lead to detrimental gaps in important non-C-suite roles, particularly when individuals in linchpin roles suddenly leave the company. Don't forget to consider including key positions in administration or IT when developing your succession plan. So you want to also have a succession plan where it is not your focus is not just on the CEO and the COO and the CFO. You also want to look at other strong team leads, strong team leads, some other strong members of the of the management team. You also want you have to ensure that there there are people. It's not just one person, you know, holding a department. You want to ensure that there are people that can take it up when somebody exits the company, so you don't have a sudden gap or a sudden lacuna. Abandoning the one size fits all competency frameworks. A common succession mistake is adopting an existing or dated competency framework on which to evaluate succession candidates. This may save organization a great deal of time. Don't let the convenience of ready to use competency models lead you to overlook characteristics that are important to your organization. So this is basically talking about when we use templates. Yes, it is good to use templates, but it is also very important for you to line it, to the peculiarity of your own business. There can be templates that are accepted in the industry. There can be things that you can quickly use, resources that you can quickly use online. But it is always very important for you to also develop yours, that is peculiar to your company, that is peculiar to your organization, that can be used to address the needs of your own organization. Because if it's a general template or maybe an industry template, it might be your needs, your peculiar needs, or your peculiar culture might be different from even your direct competitors. So it is important for you to, in as much as it is good to use templates, it's good to adopt frameworks, industry frameworks. It's important for you to also develop that which is peculiar and unique to your company. Describing the reality of the role. When identifying with competencies are needed for a given role, there can be a tendency to describe those qualities you like to see of the individual in the focal role rather than the actual requirements. Remember to focus on what is essential to success in that position. So when you are also recruiting people for these roles, when you are putting up the job description, don't just go and copy. Um, you must be this, you must be that, you must be this. You should actually look inward to say, what does my company need? What is the peculiar thing I need? What role is this person coming to fulfill? What duty is this person coming to do for me? What function do I want this person to actually do in my company? So you're not just employing people because you feel that, because we are a company now and we are growing now, we need this department. No, is that department essential? Is it needed? If you're employing for somebody for that department, is there a need in your company that is directly open that person is coming to fill? So you should focus on that direct need of your company and not just, because we're a company now, we need HR. What do you want the HR to do in your own company? What roles do you want the HR to take care of, for example, in your own company? So these are the things that you have to also take into consideration, to determine the level of talent that you have. When you employ people to fulfill a need, then the company is more purpose driven. Right. So the next thing is to say understanding the changing nature of work. Now, this is very important, because one of the things about succession planning, you see companies that have been there from years. They were there even before the advent of computers. They survived the technology. The only reason why they have been able to continue till this time is because they've learned, how to adapt to new changes. You don't want to say, this is the way we are doing these things, and when new changes occur in the industry, you don't want to align with it. You would, is either you um, is that you go big or you go home, is that you adapt or you die. That is basically what business is. Once there is a global trend, once there's a global change, is that you adapt or you die. So an important part of succession is planning, and anticipating future needs. Part of this means taking time to reflect on the future of the focal role. Consider how changes in technology, might affect your organization. Do you need 10 people when there is a technology, to take care of some of these things, or the broader industry might impact, or the technology affect your organization or broader industry might impact the responsibilities associated with the position. Be sure the successors you identify are being developed for a role that will still be around when they are ready, and that they are being trained in skills that will be essential in the future. So basically, we're saying, look, you don't want to be uh, business is tough. Yeah, you want to understand that when you're employing people, you don't want to be employing people that are just going to be, permit me to use the word, dead weight to your business, because there's a technology that already takes care of what you're employing them for. You don't want to just employ people for the purpose of just, oh, we have social number of employees. You can have a company with a lesser number of employee but more effective production, because why? They are making best use of the IT tools that are available to them. So the roles that you're employing people for, are these roles going to still be sustainable and existing in the next 2 to 3, 4 years? So you have to also consider this is when you're employing people for roles. When you even employ, you also have to train them. Yes, so you also want to train them to ensure that they are, they have the skill set to survive changes, and skill set for the future. You don't want to just train people for now. You also want to train them for them to still be available in the future. The more you train the talents of your company, the more the succession and sustainability and growth of your company. So another thing you want to do with succession planning is that um, it can be a feeling that sometimes some companies want to show, the chain of hierarchy or succession plan of the company. But it is better that when you're in when you have an organization, it is transparent, that people can see, how they can move up in a company. Where they can vividly see that, okay, if I do action A, B, C, I can move from point X, to Y and to Z. You can show more like an organogram, or there can be a clear and transparent, policy document stating how people can grow and be promoted in a company. It helps to boost, the morale of the employees, because they know that they are not just, working and not advancing. And one of the things you find is that people, when people feel that they are just going to be stuck in a particular organization, they tend to want to leave and want to look for somewhere where they feel that they are more valued and appreciated. You don't want a situation where somebody feels like, oh, tomorrow they can just bring in somebody from somewhere else, to take over my role. You want to have a clear, policy that shows how people can move, from one rank to the other in your company. It is also important for you to have more than one potential success of a role. For every role that you have in your company, even for the role of the CEO and role of the CFO, it's always important for you to have a team. For like 2 or 3 people that are qualified or equally available to fill those roles. And what this does is, when one person leaves, it doesn't just leave a gap as to, oh, we now have to start scrambling for, oh, who is going to take over this role for us. When you have 2 or 3 people equally trained, equally skilled, avail the same opportunities in your company. Even if one person leaves, even if one person goes, even if life happens and something happens to somebody and the other person leaves and the other person is not available, you at least you have a fallback person, to take over for you. So it's always important to have a talented pool of candidates in your company, so you can have numerous options. And it's also important to know that you also have to invest in your employees, for them to be good at what they are doing, and be not just good but be excellent. Um, the When they are excellent, it affects your own productivity positively. Well, from the beginning, you can have um, key performance indicators of what is expected of each board member. So when, like we explained during the part of the employee, when you're bringing a director on board, what is, aside from the fiduciary duties that is expected of a director, what are you bringing that director to do? What role is that director coming to fulfill? Is it going to be an independent director? If it's an independent director, what field or what sector of the business is it coming to, give you experience in? What wealth of experience are you trying to extract from this director? what advantage are you trying to get from this director? So these are things that you would have to know beforehand. So once this is already set beforehand, what you do basically is to have the key performance indicators that you can always judge these directors, quarterly or monthly, and or as you may choose, and to ensure that they are meeting the need that they are employed for. Well, for this, I would, besides aside all other features, one important one I would want to dwell on is accountability. See, many institutions in Nigeria, even the new breed of startups that we have, are run by a one-man dictator. They are run like a one-man dictator show, where the CEO or founders are not accountable to anyone. This is not a sustainable approach, as their bad unchecked decisions can ruin the company. So it would be nice to have a structure where the CEO, board members, management, even employees are accountable, and they are not demigods that cannot be questioned. For example, there should be an accounting policy, that determines how expenses are incurred in a company and for what reasons expenses are going to be reimbursed. The HR department, for example, should be truly independent, and everyone must adhere, to the company policy. These are just some examples of a company engaging in an accountability approach. This goes a long way, to help the company become accountable and to make it sustainable. So you don't have a situation where just one person makes decision or make decisions as they feel. So accountability in is one of the corporate governance features that I would like to see adopted more in companies across Nigeria. I hope I've been able to shed some light on this topic. Thank you, and thank you, ISN Up, for the opportunity. Bye.